Pierre, bonjour Meukoh. No, Peter, whatever, Vakunta tolo. Oko bi kinimbo bincha. Oh, my Bobby la Tivan Turban the cook to Mamma Teddy Bila. I'm one yama buna munja, a young yon above him, young Gimako, you juve. I on in the ditching more la boomer. But Tim Bunton can give a cutter. You would take and give a cut. Come a tint on Bunton and non turn the machine by non turn can't turn laugh. And I am come a Tim Bunton can give a call. Eat to me. A wook can give a cutter. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this again, like I said, this is Peter Vakunta, Professor Peter Vakunta, one of the elite of the Bamunka in the Ngogatunjia division in the north and northwest region. This evening, I would like to talk about something that that is very, very dear to me, and this I address to the Meukoh community. I've uploaded 2 videos on our development web forum here. One video is the first video is a video of the Bafut community here in the United States. I think they are in Maryland. Okay, that video displays a bunch of Bafut people attending their cultural meeting here in Maryland, in the United States of America. And it's quite amazing. It's not really amazing. It's quite interesting to see in that video that throughout the entire duration of their discourse, the discussions there, not one word is mentioned in English. They had all their discussions in the Bafut language. Okay, and I find, as a linguist, I find that very interesting, because this is a bunch of people that probably left Africa, 20 years ago, 30, 10, I don't know what. But they still hold very tight to their mother tongue, okay? And I invite my brothers and sisters of the Meukoh community here to take a look at that video very critically. Do not dismiss that video, please, because that's the purpose of this video that I'm producing for you guys. Take a look at that video, watch it very critically, and see whether there's one minute where somebody said anything in English during that Bafut cultural meeting. That's the first instance. The second instance is a video that a friend of mine, is a professor in Albany, in Georgia, sent to me, and that video features again Bafut people, attending their annual conference in the city of Dallas, in Texas, in the state of Texas. And the gentleman talking there, who is dressed in royal, sort of royal regalia. I was told by my colleague, professor in Georgia, that guy is the fund's representative. So he's the mouthpiece of the fund of Bafut. Okay, addressing his people here in the United States. Now, what I found very interesting, first of all, in that particular video, ladies and gentlemen, dear brothers and sisters of the Meukoh community here in the United States, is the traditional regalia. Okay, that's why I intentionally, dressed in my own regalia today, so that you can see that I'm not preaching in the desert. This topic is very serious to me, and that's why I'm dressed in my traditional regalia. That's how we dress when we want to show the white man that we have a culture. And if you look at that Bafut, that video produced by the Bafut people during their annual convention in Dallas, just the regalia will baffle a white man. Okay, that's how people respect you. They don't respect you because you dress every day in suits and jeans and all that type of stuff. I dress in that stuff too, but that's when I'm not doing cultural stuff. And so that is the first thing that struck me in that video. The second thing that has struck me in that video is the fact that they all spoke Bafut from the beginning to the end. I didn't hear one English word in that video. Okay? And that struck me because that's how people value their culture. That's how people attach a price or places a premium on their language. And so I looked at that video and I made a very quick comparison to what I find when I used to attend the Meukoh meeting. I'm going to explain why I stopped attending the Meukoh community meeting. So they spoke their language and they dressed. The women were very respectful. Please, again, dear brothers and sisters in the Meukoh community, please take time. Okay, take time, watch that video objectively. And you can shoot me your comments if you have the time to do that. But I found that video very instructional and very educative because the regalia was African, it was bafoot. Well, not bafoot. I mean, most of what I'm wearing is in graphy. This is graphy regalia. So they both men and women dressed in that, and they spoke their language. They ate their foods. And so I look at that and I said to myself, what are my people thinking? When they go to their meetings, they go to their monthly meeting and they speak all the time in English, in the language of the colonial masters. Now that struck me like a thunderbolt. And I thought I should produce this video because that's my job. I'm a pedagogue, I teach. And so that's the prelude to this video. Now I'm going to go into detail and talk a little bit more at length about what cultural erosion, because when you look at this, the video is titled Cultural Erosion in the Bamunka community in the diaspora, because we are suffering, whether we like it or not, we are suffering from what I call cultural erosion. And what do I mean by this? I mean that we are gradually, slowly and steadily losing our cultures. There are very few Meukoh people who can hold a discourse for 20 minutes without staggering, without faltering, without mixing up things in the mother tongue. And so that is what I call cultural bastardization, is cultural bastardy. That is the first instinct, that's the first impact or the first consequence of cultural erosion. When you neglect your culture, either willingly or unwillingly, you become a cultural bastard. And that's why I want to underscore the fact that we in the diaspora, who are people from Meukoh village in Goketunja, we are suffering from what I call cultural bastardy. I'm sure many of you listening to me know the meaning of a bastard. A bastard is somebody who has neither father nor mother, who doesn't know where the mother comes from, where the father comes from. That when you are a cultural bastard, you don't know your culture. And that is the situation that many of us, of course, there are a few exceptions. People in my generation on that forum do speak their mother tongue. They know they speak their mother tongue. They probably, I say probably, to taught their children, I don't know. They probably have to testify to that. But I have taught my children my mother tongue, all of them. And so when you're a cultural bastard, there's nothing to be proud of. It's a shame that we can't be, those of us who are born in the hinterland of Bamunka. There are people in my group here in the United States and probably elsewhere in the diaspora who were born in Mercy Quarter, in Meukoh Quarter, in Mbanka, what do we call them, Mbonko, Buku, okay? People who were born and raised in the hinterland of Bamunka, they come to the United States and they decide that they have seen the light now and they're going to go crazy. They can no longer speak their mother tongue and they want to pretend that they can only communicate in English. And when push comes to shove, please, and I say this with all humility, when I listen to some of the kind of English that some of us speak, I look for a place to shed tears, because we're not even speaking the English that we're supposed to speak, and yet we can't speak our mother tongue. That's a shame. And so that's the first aspect, ladies and gentlemen. The second aspect that I want to underscore, which is very related to what I'm observing here. Remember, the topic of this video is cultural bastardy, okay? Cultural erosion. We're losing our erosion is the stripping away of whatever. In this case, is culture. The second aspect, the second consequence of cultural erosion is linguistic impoverishment. when you cannot no longer speak your mother tongue and you hang on to one single language. You're linguistically impoverished. You are poor, linguistically speaking. And we who do business in the field of linguistics, studies are out there. If you're interested, you can research it. Bilingualism or multilingualism is a tool of empowerment. When you can speak more than one language, you can get news, you can get scientific information, you can get whatever medical information from many sources in the various languages that you speak. I listen to most of my news in French. Okay, I wish there was a radio station in Bamunka. I'll be listening to news in Bamunka, but it's not. And so that's the one thing. Linguistic impoverishment is one thing that we are with very few exceptions in the Meukoh community in the diaspora. We are suffering from linguistic impoverishment, linguistic poverty, because monolingualism is an outdated phenomenon, ladies and gentlemen, dear brothers and sisters. If you are monolingual, you are dead, linguistically speaking. You are poor. You only have one means to access information, and that is tragic, to say the least. Okay, and so I personally deplore that, because if you come to the diaspora and all you can think about is how to speak American English, and I wonder how many of us can speak that English well. I've said this 1,000 times. I really wonder how many of us can speak it well. And so that's the second aspect, linguistic impoverishment. The third consequence of what we are going through today, as you know, which I describe as cultural erosion, is the erosion, the disappearance of cultural artifacts. And I'm going to explain myself. What are cultural artifacts? Cultural artifacts are outfit, like the one I'm wearing right now. How many of us sitting here in the diaspora today, in the United States of America, or in France, or in the Great Britain, or Holland, wherever we are, how many of us have these traditional regalia, like the one I'm wearing here? How many of us still own them and can wear them proudly? Because it's one thing to own these regalia and one thing to be able to wear them proudly. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm not saying that you should wear what I'm wearing now and go to the office. You will be fired. Okay, you'll be fired from your job. There's something called, you have to choose your regalia or your outfit based on in the situation where you're going to. But it is absurd that you go into a traditional meeting and you wear a suit. What are you wearing a suit for? Who are you trying to impress with a suit? A suit has no cultural basis, to be honest with you. If I see somebody going to a traditional meeting dressed in suit, I will be looking for a psychiatrist so they can check his brains and see if he's normal. And I don't say this tongue in cheek. I don't say this to create humor. I'm serious. Okay. So we are suffering from cultural erosion. We're no longer proud of our traditional outfit. The second aspect, we're not proud of our food anymore. I hear some of us, when you come here, we can no longer eat fufu. We can no longer eat I don't know what, corn chaff or koki or ero. Okay, we don't eat those because, I mean, you know what? We're going to look primitive if we eat those things. We got to eat something that is appealing to the white man, so that we can remain culturally enslaved to them, because that's what mental slavery is all about. And so some of us, when we come here, we have evolved. We've left the black bush behind there, and we're now evolved people. We're civilized, so to speak. And so we can't eat our traditional food anymore. When we eat our traditional food and the white man is passing, we're ashamed. We can't let them see what we're eating because we have an inferiority complex. And so that's the third thing that I want to talk about, which is very linked to what I'm talking here, the concept of cultural erosion. We have to eat our food. We have to dress in our traditional regalia. Okay, we have to be proud of who we are. We got to speak our languages, because when you speak a language carries culture, and that's why most of us are cultural bastards. Because if you can't speak the Meukoh language, then you are a cultural bastard, because there is nothing that you're going to attach yourself to, because every language carries a culture, it carries a worldview, it carries an identity. So when you lose language, you lose your identity. You're no longer a Meukoh person. I say this seriously, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters of the Bamunka community. When you lose your language, you cannot speak Meukoh language, you should better consider yourself a non-Bamunka person because you have no cultural basis. I can talk about this for one week, non-stop, because that's my field. Okay. So that's the third thing, ladies and gentlemen. The fourth one is that we are socially vulnerable. I call it the social vulnerability. When you don't have a language of survival, what I call a fallback language. Okay? What is your survival strategy? Supposing the police came to your house today and they were to arrest you for whatever reason. Okay, I'm giving a scenario here, ladies and gentlemen, dear Meukoh, brothers and sisters. Supposing you were, the police invaded your house today. You sat in your house with your wife and children, and the police invaded your house, and you probably had something that is incriminating. Okay, something that they will use it against you, and you wanted to tell your son. Maybe they came and your son is in the room, and you wanted to tell your son in Meukoh language to take that item and hide it somewhere, because you don't want the police to see it. Okay, you can imagine a scenario where the child will ask you in English, Papa, what did you say? I should take that stuff and hide it where? Okay, now you've already sold yourself, because you've brought up a linguistically bastard. Okay? And this child cannot speak your Meukoh, and therefore he is going to talk to you in Bamunka and expose you to the police. And so that's what I call social vulnerability, ladies and gentlemen. Here in the United States, you cannot scold your child openly in public. You can't scold your child in Walmart, wherever you shop. But you can scold your child in Walmart, in the Sam's Club, or wherever you do your shopping. In Bamunka, they will not understand that you are scolding this child. That is what I call a tool of survival. So when you don't speak your mother tongue, who do you think you're fooling? You're fooling yourself. You are putting yourself in an endangered position. Again, that's what I call, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters of the Bamunka community, that's what I call linguistic impoverishment and linguistics bastardization that leads to social vulnerability. Okay, vulnerable means you are weak, you are exposed to danger. That's the meaning of vulnerable. Okay, and so these are some of the things that I can say more, ladies and gentlemen, because when it comes even to education, the real, the real standardized education, we are, because if you cannot understand a concept in Bamunka, I wonder how you can understand it in a second language or a third language. Like me, I don't know how many languages, I've lost count of how many languages I speak. Okay? And so, and I tell my students, when I teach them, I say, look, listen, do you know the concepts that I'm teaching you in your mother tongue? Do you know parts of speech? Do you know what an adjective is? Do you know what a preposition is? Do you know what the, an oxymoron is? Do you know, you don't know all these concepts, main clause, subordinate clause? Do you know them in your L1? Do you know them in English? If you don't know them in English, I cannot teach. I will teach you in French, but you're not going to get it because you lack the cultural basis or the linguistic base. And so those of us who don't speak Bamunka, who cannot speak Bamunka because we have a disdain for the language, well, we are shooting ourselves in the foot, as the Englishman would say. You shoot yourself in the foot when you make a mistake that harms you. Okay? And so that's it, ladies and gentlemen. So these are my worries. These are my worries. And so for those of you who have been wondering why some of us don't come to the meetings, well, I'm now explaining to you why me, Dr. Vakunta, don't come to the meetings, because it is one out of many reasons. But this is a fundamental reason why I don't come to the meeting, because I come to waste my time. I come to waste my time. We're going to be talking about the Bamunka development community, and we're discussing issues in English. It's counterproductive. And so that's my take on it. And so some of you listening to me will say, yes, Professor Vakunta, you said it all. And so what? So what can we do? Well, for those of you who know me, if you look at all my videos, I always present a problem and I give you a solution. And so here is my solution. My solution, the way forward is that we have to come up with what I call a paradigm shift. Okay? I'm going to explain. Paradigm shift is a big term for some of you. A paradigm shift is a change of focus, a change of perception, a change of worldview, a change of doing things. Because we cannot continue to do the same things over and over and expect different results. That's the definition of a mad person. Okay? A common definition of a mad person is the person that does the same thing over and over and expects different results. And I don't think that we are mad people. And so we need to leave behind this cultural inferiority complex. Okay, this weird notion that if we are educated, if we have PhDs, or if we are nurses, we can't speak our mother tongue anymore. The Bafut community that I've whose videos I've shared with you, they have probably 500 more PhDs and 500 more medical doctors and 500 more nurses in that community than the Meukoh community, and yet they are not ashamed of their language. They are not ashamed. They are not ashamed of their cultural artifacts. They are not ashamed to get dressed in their outfit. They are not ashamed to eat achu. In the first video that I shared with you from from Maryland, you saw young Bafut people eating their achu with their bare fingers. I'm sure if some of us are given fufu today, we will eat it with a spoon or a fork. I've seen Bamunka people eat fufu with forks. Talk about mental slavery. And so that's the way forward. The way forward is we have to be proud of it. We have to learn. We have to come up with a mindset and a paradigm shift and try to learn our cultures and try to love our cultures and teach our cultures and languages to our children. That's the first thing, education. And this doesn't have to happen in school. You can do that at home. I call it informal education. Okay? I call it informal education. Educate your children at home. Talk the language with them at home. I have 5 children to whom we have taught the mother tongue. My children speak Meukoh very fluently. Call them. Call any one of them. They will embarrass you in Bamunka because you don't know it and they know it. Okay? The second thing is we have to acculturize. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to become culturally sensitive. Okay, try to value your culture. Try to value your cultural artifacts. Try to value everything that pertains to your culture, and that means a lot. I'm doing my best. Okay, for some of you who may be listening to me are wondering, why is this guy raving and ranting? What has he done? I've done quite a lot. If you want to research me, you can go to YouTube and type Bamunka. You see the videos I've done with my spouse. You look at my books, you see what I do with language and culture. So I've done quite a bit. I teach culture and language, by the way. So that's the first thing. And then the other one is we got to be very, very careful. Remind ourselves constantly that we are linguistically impoverished, and therefore we have to empower our kids, especially those of them who are born here in the diaspora. Okay, because one day, whether we like it or not, they will go back home, either to stay or to visit, and they'll be embarrassed. Okay, they'll be embarrassed if they can't speak the Meukoh with the folks in the village. Okay, I had know of examples where children live here and they go home and they can't speak the mother tongue. They live. If they were to spend vacation there for 2 weeks, they live or 2 months. They will live for 2 months in misery. It's happened to other Africans who come to the diaspora and adopt that same type of slavish mentality. Okay. And last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, we need to prioritize going back home. We need to visit home. I know it's expensive to travel home, but you need to go home and let children go home and if and see what is going on at home. A Bamunka elite just shared a video with me, which I shared on the messenger, the Facebook messenger. It's about the Mbungwase, which we all know about. I know the youngsters don't know what Mbungwase is, but Mbungwase is, if you don't know Mbungwase and you say you're a Bamunka man, I have no discussion with you. So I shared that video, on the Facebook Messenger, and it was amazing. In fact, I told the elder that sent that to me from Bamenda. I told him, you just made my day, sir, and because this video has made me to go down memory lane as we speak, to make me to relive my past. Because I grew up in the village, and my father was a dignitary in the palace, and he inducted me into the Ngumba, and so I'm a full-fledged Ngumba member in our village. Okay, if I go to there, I'm going to go to the Ngumba and do what they will do there. So that's the thing. Go back home, prioritize your language, be proud of your culture, educate your children at home, and make sure that you are propagating the language and culture of Bamunka as the best you can. Produce your own videos. Okay, that's the one thing I want to say. If you listen to this video and you feel challenged, do not grumble with your wife in the kitchen or in the bedroom and say, this guy is a numbskull. What does he think he is? Well, I think I'm something. The task is for you to prove that I'm not anything, because I'm God's creation, so I'm something. So produce your own videos. Produce your own videos. Educate people about your culture. If you disagree with anything that I've said here, please do not call me names, because I'm one guy that I can fight back like a lion. If you call me names and you get to me, we will fight a real battle. You produce your video. It's intellectual discourse. You discuss the idea, not the person. Produce your video and counteract what I've said and prove me wrong. And I will produce another video, and we can do it for 10 years. So that's intellectualism. Okay. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. This video is running to about 30 minutes now, and I know people are going to be fed up if it is too long. But I hope I've made my point that any meeting that is conducted in the white man's language in the diaspora is anathema, is counterproductive, because it exposes us to the outside world. It brandishes us as cultural bastards with no roots, people with no cultural roots. It makes us look like laughing stocks. And so I guess this video was instructional. It made a point that I had to make, and I hope that it served the purpose that it was intended to serve, and that is, serve play the role of a wake-up call, that we are taking too much for granted, and that we need to. Other cultures are moving ahead, as testified by the videos that I just shared with you. All these folks are in the United States, like us. We are not special. We are just like any other African community here in the United States. So let's not fool ourselves. Let's not come to meetings and begin to pretend that we are speaking a language that we can hardly master. And I say this with humility, because if there was a competition today in English mastery, I don't think many of us would going to pass it. So let's learn from it, from this video, ladies and gentlemen. This is an objective video, and my tone may sound harsh, but that's because the issue is very deep. It touches me very in my heart. People who know me, when I get emotional, I sound very harsh. That's my nature. There's nothing I can do about it. But I hope I've made my point, and I hope that people learn from it. So this video is on YouTube. You can react. You can make comments. You can suggest things that I should do better. I'm a lifelong student. I am a lifelong student. I learn and I respect people's point of view, and I prioritize intellectual discourse. I have a little tolerance for academic insults and spiteful language. So I hope you have a great evening, and be able to get something from here. So that's it, folks. Meukoh, Meukoh. Be benju.